Welcome to the Daily Fortune, where we talk about the latest topics about finance and investment. But before that, please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll know when we upload a new video. Now let's get started. It's already 2022, and so many things have happened. First on the list is the insanely high stock market price that indicates a 13-year bull market run. Second, the economy has more debt than it ever had following the pandemic. And the third one is that the inflation has increased by nearly 5 times the amount in a single year. There's bad news here, bad news there, bad news everywhere, and it might be difficult to know where to put our money. What will we do with it? What do we invest in? And one person I prefer to consult while trying to answer this question is none other than Warren Buffett, who is widely regarded as one of the world's greatest investors. In these chaotic times, what is he investing in now? Buffett's largest holding so far is a very well-known company, and I'm pretty sure you've heard of it, especially since you're a user as well. Yes, it's Apple. By the way, when I mention Buffett, I'm referring to Berkshire Hathaway, the financial firm where he manages his net worth. Buffett owns 887 million shares of Apple, accounting for 42.78% of his stock portfolio. We'll start with his publicly traded stock portfolio. Okay, so his overall value in Apple is $125 billion, which is a massive position that's 4 times bigger than his next largest holding. Buffett began buying Apple in May 2016 at a price of roughly $23 a share, and he continued to buy until the first quarter of 2018. Buffett hasn't sold it since it's gone up 4 to 8 times in price since he bought it, and he's still holding it as his largest stock. His second largest stock position belongs to Bank of America, the second largest bank in the United States. As a result, Warren Buffett owns $42 billion in Bank of America stock, accounting for 14.6% of his total portfolio. If you try to check into buying the stock, it sells under the ticker symbol BAC on the New York Stock Exchange. So Buffett purchased Bank of America by exercising a warrant with a strike price of $7.14. In the third quarter of 2018, he boosted his stock by 30% at a price of roughly $30. So, he has a $14 overall cost basis for Apple stock. When we look at the stock price now, it's $46 per share. Therefore, Buffett has made a good profit. The current price-to-earnings ratio is low, compared to the current market sitting at 13.8, and they do pay a dividend with a yield of 1.89%. Buffett's portfolio includes 3 companies, the third of which is American Express, a credit card service company. He owns 150,000 shares, or 8.66% of the overall portfolio, with a value of $45.4 billion. The stock itself is a really value-oriented stock, which is fairly normal for Buffett to go for. The price is $173, with a rather low P/E ratio of 18.1 in this market. It also pays a 1% dividend. The intrinsic value, according to the analysis, is roughly $214 per share. As a result, it's being sold at a discount. Let's move on to one of Buffett's favorite investments, Coca-Cola. Buffett said in an interview that he would never sell the Coca-Cola stock. Buffett purchased the stock in 1988, and it now accounts for 7.15% of his $20.1 billion stock portfolio. This implies he owns billion-dollar beverage brands like Sprite, Smart Water, Fanta, and a variety of other billion-dollar brands through his shares. Buffett's 5th largest investment reveals how deeply he is invested in the food and beverage industry. He owns Kraft Heinz stock, worth 4.09% of his portfolio with $11.9 billion. Many people consider Kraft Heinz stock to be a value play, despite its recent price drop. It has a low market cap, a high dividend of 4.4%, and a decent price-to-earnings ratio of 19.5. Warren Buffett's 6th, 8th, and 10th largest investments are all financial stocks, so banks and financial services companies account for 5 of his top 10 largest stocks. The 6th largest stock is Moody's, the finance company, worth $8.7 billion and accounting for 3% of his portfolio. The 8th largest stock is US Bancorp, worth $7.5 billion and accounting for 2% of his portfolio. And the 10th largest stock is Bank of New York, BNY Mellon, worth $3.7 billion and accounting for 1% of his portfolio. Banking and financial services are one of the sectors in which Buffett is heavily involved with in 2022. In case you're wondering, there are a couple of main reasons for this. You want to hold stocks that firms need to do business and keep the economy running. Buffett likes to purchase things when everyone is terrified and panicking, and he did it with the financial sector, with American Express, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs were all top post-crash bailout buys. If we talk about his stocks that are not about banking, included in the list is Verizon. At 2.92% of the portfolio, the wireless network company is worth $8.5 billion. Then there's DaVita Healthcare, which is valued at $4.2 billion and accounts for 1.4% of the portfolio. So those are the top 10 largest positions owned by Buffett as of 2022. Meanwhile, the 11th largest position in his portfolio is General Motors at 1.08%, and the 12th one is Charter Communications at 1.04% respectively. And all the remaining stocks he owns are all valued at less than 1%. Some of the ones that stand out as interesting small positions that Buffett holds is Amazon, the giant e-commerce company that has seen some pretty impressive growth over the last couple of years. Berkshire also purchased Snowflake, which is a very different type of investment than Buffett usually does. Then recently, the IPO, which Buffett usually avoids, but not this time. Second, it's a cloud computing-based data warehousing company. This shows that someone else at Berkshire bought it. And Kroger is another one of Buffett's smaller positions, indicating how much he likes retail and food firms. Then Visa, another small position representing 0.7% of the portfolio. That boosts his holdings in the financial sector of the market this year. When we divide this portfolio down by sector, the technology sector, which accounts for 43.2% of the total, is by far the largest. What's the connection between Warren Buffett and technology? Well, Buffett's largest holding is in Apple, a technology stock, so that's where this large percentage fits in. At 31.7%, the financial services sector is the second largest, and I've already mentioned all of the financial stocks that Buffett holds and why he likes the sector so well. At 12.7%, the consumer defensive sector includes all of Coca-Cola's, Kraft Heinz, Kroger's, and other food and beverage industries. So what's the main point of all these? And what can we learn from Buffett? Buffett buys what he understands. He understands food, he understands consumers, he understands banks, and he understands financial services. He's familiar with Apple stock, which is mostly a consumer-oriented company. He sticks to what he understands, and if we understand the technology and the internet, we should look at the companies in those sectors as well. If you know a lot about autos, try to look at equities like Tesla, Ford, and others. If you're interested in beauty and cosmetics, look for companies that dominate and are developing in this sector. That's it. That's Buffett's advice to us, to invest in what we know and like. So those are only his publicly traded stocks, which he's required to disclose legally. Did you know that he also owns private firms? We have to keep in mind that Buffett owns a number of privately held firms, like the insurance company Geico, which he owns 100% of. He also owns 100% and 99.9% of the Swedish companies, which are the See's Candy and Dairy Queen. He controls 80% of the Nebraska Furniture Mart. He bought the BNSF railway firm entirely for $34 billion. He also owns Duracell, a battery company. Another thing to know about Buffett is how he balanced his cash and stock holdings this year. He has a total investment of $310.7 billion, which includes both publicly traded equities and privately held businesses. When we look at the cash that he has, we see that he has a lot of it, totaling $144 billion in cash and cash equivalents. In addition to that, the majority is held in short-term treasury bills, so cash makes up 32% of his portfolio, while businesses make up the remaining 68%. This is a high cash percentage, especially for Buffett, who prefers to acquire stocks rather than store cash, which doesn't grow and is eaten away by inflation. However, in the current market, with everything being so expensive, he's having trouble finding value investments to buy, so he's playing it safe. So those are all what Buffett owns in 2022. A lot of bank stocks, a lot of consumer stocks. He's investing very carefully. He didn't buy much last year. He's letting his wealth grow, and I believe he's waiting for stocks to get cheaper before jumping back in and buying again. Thank you for watching. So that's it for today. I hope you learned something from today's video, and to get updated with the next videos, don't forget to hit the notification bell. See you next time.